A busy day for our new front office Bulls Nation, an exciting day to be a Bulls fan, which feels like it's been a while since, as Bulls fans, we could be excited about something, at least since the new front office was hired and then they fired Jim Boylan shortly thereafter. But with the trade deadline finally passed, things are now locked in. No more trades for the rest of the season, no more trade speculations. The Bulls have a new roster, at least until the end of the season, and in this video we're going to be talking about the trades the Bulls made today, how it impacts the Bulls' future and their path to contention, the pros and cons of said trades, and everything in between. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. I know I'm doing well, at least anyway, because it's not every day your team makes a trade to acquire another all-star. And it's rare for us Bulls fans to see our team on the winning side of a trade. More often than not, under the old regime, it always just felt like any time the Bulls made a trade that we got the short end of the stick, or a trade that focused more on the future rather than making strides to actually start winning now. Now, I had a video that was in the process of uploading while the news of the Bulls trading for Vucevic broke. It was actually my post-game reaction video from the game against the Cavs last night, which normally I have right after the game, but I was too frustrated and annoyed with how the Bulls performed last night that I decided to wait until the morning. And in that video, I started it off by saying, well, the only positive that we could really get from this game based on that performance is that this could push the new front office over the edge to make a trade in the next few hours before the deadline. And then they proceeded to trade for Vucevic. So I put a quick video out of my initial reaction on the trade, but I've had a little more time to adjust the news now and digest it a bit further to give a little more breakdown of my thoughts. And even since the video, the Bulls made some additional trades. So let's first talk about this big one, and the Bulls snagging all-star big man Nikola Vucevic from the Magic in exchange for Wendell Carter Jr., Otto Porter, and 2 first-round picks in 2021 and 2023, both picks being top 4 protected. Here's what I like about this trade, and there's a lot of things that I like about it, but first and foremost, the Bulls desperately needed a true center, a true big man that can get you rebounds and not get bullied in the paint by other starting centers. Not only that, but the Bulls were able to get a big man who's not just an elite rebounder, but also an elite offensive player, a big man that can stretch the floor and knock down threes. He's averaging 24.5 points per game, shooting a career best 40.6% from 3 on the most attempts that he's ever taken actually in his career. He's shooting his career best from the free throw line. He's averaging 11.8 rebounds per game, which, man, is so greatly needed for this Bulls team. You know, he's having a career best in terms of his player efficiency rating at 23.6. And guys, he's also a solid passing big man. He's averaging 3.8 assists per game, which is great for a center. That's also his career best. Now, the only downside for this trade is, well, Nikola isn't the best defender. And as we all know, the Bulls have really needed to improve their defense, which they did to an extent with another trade. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But he's not known for his defense. The other thing is he's also 30. It's not like he's entering his prime, and in fact, it's possible he might start declining in the next 3 years or so. And the Bulls did give up 2 draft picks and a young player for him when the Bulls aren't necessarily in win now mode, right? But at the end of the day, even if the Bulls are not necessarily in contention for a title this season, this puts them on a path towards one, getting Zach Lavine some help, a big man that can provide consistent scoring and rebounding, unlike what we were seeing from Wendell and Lauri. 2, with the fact that the Bulls, now having 2 all-stars in their prime in Lavine and Vucevic, this enables them to be a better established team to make a playoff push to get younger guys some experience in the postseason. And then 3, this makes Chicago a free agency destination for the offseason and hopefully an attractive free agency destination in the future going forward. Now, initially, I was hoping the Bulls were going to be making a trade for Andre Drummond, partly because I thought Vooch was going to be out of the question. I had assumed that, they were going to need to give up way too much for a guy like Nikola Vucevic. I figured it would likely take Wendell and or Lauri and Kobe White potentially, or some more draft capital than just the 2 first rounders that they ended up giving up. But Arturas pulled a hell of a move and not needing to give up that much for an all-star caliber player. I mean, for Drummond, you would not have had to give up that much, right? You're not going to give up as much as you would have for a guy like Vucevic. I mean, clearly the Cavs couldn't find anything to get for him in return since they had to buy him out of his contract. contract. But Drummond is obviously much more risky given he's going to be a free agent. He's always had issues with his motivation. We all knew he wanted to go to a contender, and he's not the player Nikola is, not even close. He is a better defender, which of course the Bulls needed, but no, for what the Bulls, only had to give up for Vuce, this is significantly better than trading a second round pick for Drummond, because Drummond likely wouldn't have stayed with the Bulls long term. And really the reason I wanted Drummond was to give the Bulls that needed push to get to the playoffs and get guys some experience in the postseason, even if they were to lose Drummond in free agency. But Drummond doesn't have the offensive firepower that Vucevic does. You don't have the stability that you would get with a guy like Vucevic, given he's not on an expiring contract. You'll have him under contract for another 2 seasons after this one. He'll be making $24 million next year and $22 million the year after that, which is a hefty price on the books, but it is worth it if it means that the Bulls can start competing again. It hasn't been confirmed when Nikola will join the team. I doubt that he'll be available for Saturday's game against the Spurs, given he'll have to clear a physical. I'm sure there are also, some COVID safety protocol measures that are going to be put in place, but I would suspect he'll likely be available for Monday's game against the Warriors. Anyway, this is a huge trade for the Bulls. It shows a direction that they're looking to compete now, no more rebuilding, and that they're prioritizing and getting Zach Lavine some talent, showing him that they mean business and can hopefully entice him to stay when his contract expires next season. Now, I'll go a little more quickly through some of these other smaller trades that the Bulls made. So shortly after the Vucevic trade, the Bulls did make a move that did bring me down a little bit because it included my guy Daniel Gafford. The Bulls made a trade for Troy Brown and Mo Wagner, who the Bulls actually later flipped for Daniel Theis, for Gafford and Chandler Hutchinson. Now, the Hutchinson move, I didn't mind at all, given he's barely played this season, and when he has, he just wasn't really showing up to be anything significant. It's possible, there is still some upside potential with Hutchinson, but something that the Bulls should really be holding on to. But man, I do think it was a little too early to give up on a guy like Gafford. I know he has a lot of aspects of his game that he needs to work on, but he's still a strong, athletic beast that is great on the offensive boards and can give you some rim protection. And don't get me wrong, Troy Brown is a nice piece, especially because he's a decent defender, which again, the Bulls need, but you guys all know I've been really high on Gafford ever since we first drafted him, and I was not expecting him to be moved at the deadline. The piece that I did like, though, was that the Bulls used Mo Wagner in exchanging him for Daniel Theis, who is a strong rim protector and a solid big man that can give you minutes off the bench as a backup for Vuce. Theis has greatly improved his defense the last couple of years and can be a pest when it comes to his interior defense. So I like this move because after the Bulls moved on from Wendell and Gafford, I was pretty concerned with their overall rim production, but adding a guy like Theis solves that issue. And then to close out the transactions right before the deadline as a part of that Theis deal, the Bulls finally moved on from Luke Cornett, thank you, and the Bulls also got Javonte Green from the Celtics, who isn't anything to write home about. I'm sure he'll probably see limited minutes, but he can be used as another backup at the 2. All in all, a very busy day for the Bulls, and I was completely off in thinking that they weren't going to be making any moves. I mean, maybe last night's loss against the Cavs was a blessing in disguise, and that it put our tourists over the edge and being fed up with this roster and wanting to make moves rather than waiting until the offseason. I'm sure it was also, some of these other games leading up to that as well. But in my view, the Bulls were one of the biggest winners of the trade deadline across the league. I know I'm a little biased when I say that, but when you are able to bring in an all-star big man, and the Bulls needed a big man, and you didn't have to give up that much for him, and you bring in some additional rotational pieces as well. Oh, and also I forgot about Furugaminu, which he doesn't really move the needle much, but another rotational player off the bench. But when you combine all of the assets the Bulls brought in today versus what they gave up, this is an incredible haul. It gives the team a much different look when clearly what was currently in place was not going to work. I'm still a little concerned about the defense, but the Bulls should be an offensive firepower when you have 2 big men that can stretch the floor in Vucevic and Markkanen, and you've got a walking bucket in Zach Lavine. Let's not forget Kobe White is still an excellent scorer if he can be consistent in his play. Now, I think the one big surprise from today was that Lonzo Ball was not dealt from the Pelicans despite all of the trade rumors surrounding him. It sounds like teams, and that includes the Pelicans actually, are going to take their chances at getting him in free agency. agency, which I like. I wasn't about trading pieces for Lonzo when you knew he was going to be a restricted free agent. See what he fetches on the open market, weigh your options versus, what Markkanen is gardening on the market as well, and then make a decision from there without trading pieces for him, because the Bulls still need to solve for their point guard problems. That hasn't changed. They took care of what they need to do at the center spot today, but point guard will be the next area to address. The only problem now, and really not that big of a problem, is the Bulls, by taking on Vucevic's contract, that is going to limit their cap flexibility in the offseason to sign, say, guys like Lonzo Ball or Lauri Markkanen if they want to keep him, or even other free agents for that matter. Arturas is likely going to have to get a little creative with the current salaries that he has right now and see what he can do to adjust from there. But this was a big step by Arturas and Mark Eversley. Their first big move as a new front office in their first season on the job. A move we would have never seen under Gar Pax, for them to take that kind of risk. So I like it. It shows that this new front office is competent, that they know what they're doing, and they mean business. I don't know about you guys, but I am really looking forward to seeing Vucevic in a Bulls uniform. Let me know what you guys thought about all of the moves today. I know some of you already have in the comments from today's earlier videos. Be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in as always, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.